So now we're going to do the most complicated of the consolidations that we've done so far. In this case, we're going to purchase only 80% of the stock of a subsidiary company. That means that 20% will be floating around out there, and we call that non-controlling interest. We won't have control over that interest, and they won't have control over the subsidiary because it's not enough percentage ownership to have control. All right. So here's the deal then. We issue 16,000 shares of our parent stock to get 80% of, or 8,000 shares of the subsidiary company. So we gave 16,000 shares of our stock. Fair value is $25. In exchange, we get 80% of the company's stock, right? So of the subsidiary company stock. So the entry would be made. This looks like this, something like this. Here's the investment in the subsidiary company. We paid 16,000 shares that have a market value of $25 per share, and here's what we get of the. Here's what we issued. This is our parent stock company's issuance of stock that we used to get that investment. Here's our expenses. Here's a quick value analysis. So we paid $400,000 for 80%. That means that the whole company must be worth $500,000. How did we get that? We took $400,000 divided by 80% ownership, so that means the rest must be worth $500,000. That means the non-controlling shares must be worth $100,000. So now the D&D schedule can really be useful for us because it helps us to kind of keep everything organized. Here's what we're getting. Here's the non-controlling interest. Here's the equity value. 80% of that is there. 80% of that's there. So we're paying $400,000 for $128,000 book value. That means the excess is $272,000. The non-controlling would have excess of $68,000. We still distribute just like we did before. Notice that the adjustments are still going up to fair market value, and the goodwill is the same amount. When we do our elimination entry, you notice we're just going to eliminate the equity that we had before and the investment that we had before. In other words, this is the subsidiary companies, the investment that the equity that the part of the equity that we have, the 80% that we have. We're going to eliminate that and the 128, and we can see how the distribution schedule, the D&D schedule, kind of showed us what to eliminate, right? So we did that. 128 and then 80% of the stock and other retained other equity accounts. Then we marked everything up, including the goodwill. But then on this side, we have the 80% from the investment in the subsidiary. Going back to the D&D schedule, we see the 272 and then the non-controlling amount. So we can see that that's what we're going to put to get the debits to equal the credits. Notice that everything adds up to $340,000, just like our distribution schedule says it should. Our D&D schedule says it should. Looking at the worksheet, it's pretty important for us. Notice that the balance sheet debits and credits, our debits are positive, credits are negatives, are all, everything's straight. The eliminating entry, which we just saw, has what we want to do is we want to take out the the amount of the equity that we have, right? So our 80% equity is going to be removed, right? And there's the other side, which is going to hit the investment in the sub. Then we write up all of, we distribute all the assets and put the goodwill. But that 272 doesn't equal all the D's added up. Instead, we have to put the the rest of it as the NCI. So what that's doing is that's we're seeing the increase here on our assets from the write-up, and then that 68,000 is also helping to show that increase, the part of the increase that we don't own. So if you look at here, the 68,000, we reduce it, by 48,000, the 80% that we eliminated. So that would be 12,000. Then the other 68,000 brings it up to 80,000, right? So we need to have all of these zero out. So we're gonna, in the NCI column, we're going to zero all these out. Put whatever number needs to zero these out. You can make those positive if you want, so that everything goes across and zeroes out. As long as it zeroes out, you're good. And then these represent the non-controlling interest share of all the adjustments that were made. So now when you look at the balance sheet, it's got the write-up to fair market value of all the assets, our investments zeroed out, our equity zeroed out, so that we're not doubling it up. But remember, we wrote everything up to full value. That would cause a problem because we only own 80%. Well, that $100,000 and the non-controlling interest, that makes everything work. So everything's written up, equities out, investments out, and the non-controlling interest is represented on the balance sheet.